Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Faster Mai, good evening, it's 5:30. This is Update for Friday, 30th of June 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the island. Background to that news and sport and business and Sea Watch and travel updates and the newsmakers in person this evening. The sham Tynwald says a heritage campaigner, organised crime leader loses jail sentence appeal. Early years practitioner training has been bolstered. Island Games shooting team aims to be on target. And the Douglas Beach Festival is on tomorrow.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Faster Mai, Chanel Succe.
Faster Mai, the Manx leader of an organised crime gang which trafficked more than £170,000 worth of cannabis to the Isle of Man, has been told he can't appeal an uplift in his jail sentence. Gary Paul Dentith had his prison term extended in May after appeal deemsters ruled it had been too lenient. Earlier this month, he returned to the High Court of Justice to seek permission to appeal the new sentence at the Privy Council, a request that was refused by the Judge of Appeal. Issues surrounding homelessness and a lack of support for those without a permanent residence will be escalated to the House of Keys, and Arbory, Castletown and Maloo MHK made the promise at a public meeting last night, which was looking to reintroduce a night shelter. And Manx equestrian star Yasmin Ingham has had a strong start into her latest competition in Germany. Representing Great Britain in the SAP Cup, Ingham and her horse finished top of the dressage test. In international news, France is to suspend all bus and tram services nationwide tonight. It follows ongoing riots after police shot dead a 17-year-old boy in a Paris suburb. Households in Britain will pay less for their gas and electricity from tomorrow. The average bill will fall by £426 after Ofgem dropped its price cap as a result of lower wholesale costs. And in Formula One, championship leader Max Verstappen will start Sunday's Austrian Grand Prix from the front after finishing fastest in qualifying. The Red Bull has taken his 26th career pole position. Those were your headlines. News at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goromaya, thank you. Chanel from the Ronaldsway Met Office. There is a strong wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea, slight becoming moderate. And the 3-day weather. This evening, some drizzle, hill fog and rain up on the hills, moderate south-westerly. It will clear overnight, minimum temperature 13 Celsius. And for Jasan, Saturday dry with sunny intervals, fresh locally strong westerly, daylight maximum 19, down to 12 through the night. Into Jadooni, dry with sunny spells to start on Sunday. Cloudier later on a fresh locally strong westerly up to 18 Celsius. Tides on the way back in, high waters 8 minutes to 10 tonight. Sunset 5 to 10, low water 21 minutes past 4 a.m. Sunrise at 11 minutes before 5 and high tide tomorrow morning 21 minutes past 10. Ben McCree's due back in about 20 minutes time and the Edinburgh flight's been cancelled today.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
A Manx historian spoken out against Tynwald, calling it a kind of a sham. Charles Gard's been highlighting the importance of the upkeep of the Isle of Man's heritage sites, many of which have fallen into disarray. However, the power to do so lies in the hands of ministers, and on Man in Line today, Mr. Gard said votes and recommendations in Tynwald are often meaningless.
I've now realised, after 40 years of watching it, that a Tynwald resolution is pretty well meaningless. It is meaningless because if you direct the minister, or it's called a declaratory resolution, Tynwald is of the opinion that this will happen. If the minister doesn't want to do it, they won't do it, and there's no comeback on it. There is no legal requirement for the minister to carry it out. Now, of course, Tynwald has to approve the budgets, and no one is allowed to spend any money without Tynwald debating the budget and then approving it. And if a minister needs more money for the health or education or whatever in the year, they have to come back to it. But this report on the built heritage, it's 520 pages long. It's a brilliant job that Marlene Masker and her colleagues on the Select Committee, Bill Henderson and Jason Morehouse, have done. It's going to be a massive thing for members to read. There are 19 recommendations in it, and each one of these recommendations will have to be voted on by Tynwald in November. And when they voted on them, they are meaningless, because although they're instructing or saying that we recommend the Council of Ministers does this or some other minister does that, there's no legal requirement and there's no sanction if they don't do it. And I find this extremely disturbing, because members come out of those debates thinking, right, we've sorted this. Well, no, you haven't. You can vote until you're blue in the face for the horse trams to go back to the sea terminal, and they're still not there. There's no intention of doing it, and they may or may not bring back a financial resolution at some point. And even then, if the members vote for yes, if the minister doesn't want to do it, he doesn't have to. And this is a kind of a sham that's going on. I think people need to realise that what Tynwald votes for doesn't necessarily happen.
Following the closure of Isle Learn, there have been questions over who would train the Isle of Man's early years practitioners and care recruits. Anne Shimin, who helped create Isle Learn with Eddie Hall, is undertaking a new venture on her own. Through Anne Shimin Learning, she's aiming to help 50 people a year qualify. And she says this is how she hopes to go some way to filling the gap.
Eddie and I set up I'll Learn together over 8 years ago now. So I've been with I'll Learn from the start. And obviously, you know, we've all as a team been devastated by the decision to close down the business. But for me, this was something I just wasn't able to step away from.
You have set up this new venture, and starting September, how is it going to compare to what you're used to? I'm in the process of developing a slightly different delivery model. Having worked in the childcare sector myself for over 20 years, I'm acutely aware of the challenges that early years managers face when it comes to staffing and releasing staff for training. So my plan is to work closely with early years managers to help develop a bespoke training programme that takes into account the issues they face and meets not just the needs of the setting but also the needs of the learners as well. What kind of interest have you had so far? How many people have been in touch, especially those who were undertaking qualifications with I'll Learn?
So I've had lots of positive response from individuals, be it from managers of early years settings to individuals who were hoping to come to I'll Learn in September. Existing learners just relieved that there's still going to be a provision out there for individuals who do want to continue with their career.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
A large Manx contingent will compete across different shooting competitions at this year's Island Games in Guernsey, starting a week tomorrow. Mark Riley is part of the clay shooting squad, and he explains the different disciplines they'll be involved in and why he personally enjoys the games.
In these Island Games, we've got, in clay shooting predominantly, we've got skeet, Olympic skeet. The two are different because one's faster and there's slightly variations on your stands at which you shoot. So we've got Paul and Rachel who are shooting English skeet, and we've got Ted and Julio that's shooting Olympic skeet, which is quite faster because it's Olympic, so it's Olympic discipline. Then we've got Olympic trap and automatic ball trap, which is myself and Robert Watterson are shooting that, both very fast trap sports. And then we've got the two sporting disciplines. One's a sport trap, which is a close-in version of English sporting, which can be all sorts, but they're very different targets. Everything's different and the disciplines are all different. you meet all these different peoples from different countries, and they're very varied. These, from high up in Scotland, even further afield to the Swedish islands and Norwegians, and then some Canadian islands. You've got Bermuda and Caymans and places like that. So you're meeting all sorts of different people from different backgrounds and different walks of life, and everybody seems to get on. It's quite a nice atmosphere all the week, really. I think there's a certain, I'm not saying who they are, but I definitely think there's a certain few people who are after medals, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, they obviously want to enjoy themselves because it's an expensive thing, but it's their hobby, it's what they like to do, and there's some people want to go out there just for the experience. I mean, we've got some young shooters in there that have never done it before, and they're going to experience that and then move on and move forward and learn from it, and it can be a stepping stone to better things, higher things.
Douglas Council's hosting a beach festival tomorrow, which has a budget of some £10,000. Our local democracy reporter Emma Draper has been speaking to the Mayor of Douglas, Natalie Byron-Tier. So what's she looking forward to?
A fun-filled beach day, hopefully. We're hoping for good weather. We've got activities going on from 7:15 in the morning right through till after 6. We start our beach clean at 6 with beach buddies. Lots of free events, some more strenuous activities such as exercise classes, and we have mindfulness. We're doing CDIT. We're opening the new beach raft, the new beach huts. Yeah, hopefully lots of things to engage for families and individuals to do.
And this is your first major event as mayor. How are you feeling about that?
I'm really excited. As a councillor, I think I was the one who suggested this idea.
Will people be able to bring pets on the beach? Because I know there might be a couple of bylaws.
I mean, the bylaws are still in place, but the area where we're having the day is up on Queen's Promenade. Originally, we'd looked at Central Promenade, but the work on the prom wall starting that weekend, so we've moved it up to Queen's Promenade. It's listed on the schedule as a Have a Go dog agility session. It's actually a fly ball group, so it's a Have a Go at fly ball. So that'll be on for the dogs. So people are more than welcome to bring their dogs into the area that they'd normally be allowed.
What was the final budget and cost and spend for the day overall? I know that originally in the council's minutes it said it was about £10,000. Has this been stuck to?
Budget and spend is obviously two different things. The budget was £10,000 and the spend is yet to be confirmed. We won't know until after the event, I guess. So that'll probably be made publicly available in next month's council meeting.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Mothership Ben McCree departed Heysham at 17 minutes past 2. She'll be into the bay in the next 10 minutes or so, then on the link span around 6 o'clock. Departing this evening at 7:45, arriving in Heysham at 11:30. The overnight departure 2:15, back to Douglas at 6. Manannan, the high-speed craft, left Douglas at 3:20. She'll be in Liverpool in about 20 minutes' time. Departing on time at 7:15, back to Douglas at 10, and the morning departures 7:15 Manannan to Liverpool, 8:45 Ben McCree to Heysham, and our brand new boat, the motor vessel Manxman, arrives 9 o'clock on Sunday morning.
Like the Steam Packet on Facebook for the latest sailing information.
The Manx leader of an organised crime gang which trafficked more than £171,000 worth of cannabis to the Isle of Man has been told he can't appeal an uplift in his jail sentence at Douglas Courthouse. Tessa Hawley.
Gary Paul Dentith had his prison term extended in May after his advocate took the case to the High Court of Justice on the Isle of Man, arguing his sentence was manifestly excessive. But the appeal deemsters ruled that it had actually been too lenient after the sentencing deemster made a mistake in applying discount for Article 8 rights. As a result, Dentith's original sentence imposed in January was changed from 7 years and 3 months to 7 years and 6 months. However, earlier this month, Dentith's advocate Paul Rogers returned the case to the Staff of Government Division with 2 applications. The first was to restore the original sentence. The alternative was to seek permission to appeal against the new sentence to the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. However, Judge of Appeal Anthony Cross Casey and Deemster Pratt Casey found the advocate was out of time and they had no jurisdiction to deal with either application. In their judgment handed down on the 21st of June, they said even if the matter had been submitted in time, they considered it to be misconceived. Mr. Rogers argued that the court had made 3 mistakes in applying the correct legal principles in respect of its decision to increase the sentence. But the Deemsters found his client Dentith, who was targeted as part of Operation Artemis, was clearly warned his sentence could go up as well as down if he appealed. The Deemsters found no mistake in law had been made and there was no serious miscarriage of justice caused as a result of increasing the sentence by 3 months. This, they said, meant there was no arguable point of law which needed to be determined by the Privy Council. Leave to appeal to that court was therefore refused. You can find the full judgment at manxradio.com.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 6:15, the UK competition watchdogs flagged concerns over the American multinational computer software company Adobe and their proposed $20 billion acquisition of the designer platform Figma, arguing that the deal could stifle innovation. The deal was first announced by the US firms in September. Today, the Competition and Markets Authority said that an initial investigation had identified concerns over the supply of screen design software. It's given the companies 5 working days to submit legally binding proposals that address its concerns. Otherwise, it'll launch an in-depth Phase 2 review. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com.
The Stock Market Report. Brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European stock markets closed higher. The pound rose, boosted by higher UK bond yields. Oil rose and gold rose too. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall at the close in London. The FTSE 100 up 0.8%, 7,531. In Frankfurt, the DAX closed up 1.25% at 16,147. A short time ago in New York City, the Dow Jones up just over 0.6% at 34,345. The tech stocks index, the Nasdaq, up 1.33% at 13,770, and in Chicago, the S&P 500 up just over a percentage point at 4,440. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 27.1 cents, €1 16.4 cents, and 23 South African rand 92.9 cents. In commodities, gold's up 0.6% at $1,918 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude at 1.8%, $75.65.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future for a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Isle of Man Water Sports. Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Here's the relevant information. If you're sailing, kayaking, windsurfing, paddleboarding, sea swimming, diving or surfing this weekend around the Isle of Man's coast, 15 Celsius sea temperature this weekend. For tomorrow, the wind is westerly, force 5 or 6, decreasing 4 or 5 for a time. During the afternoon, wave height 1 to 1.5 metres, wave periods 4 seconds, high tide 21 minutes past 10 a.m. For Sunday, the wind is westerly, force 5 or 6, wave height 1 to 1.5 metres, wave period 4 seconds, high tide 11:14 a.m.
Manx Glass and Glazing can produce bespoke splashbacks for your kitchen in any colours. Speak to the team on 674 573. Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300.
If you've ever considered a career in the maritime industry, there's an event taking place this weekend that could be right up your street. Taking place between 11 and 3 tomorrow, Isle of Man Maritime's holding an expo at the Villa Marina in Douglas. Captain Lee Clark told Lewis Foster what it's all about.
We're surrounded by the sea, we're surrounded by maritime, and you can get involved involved, and that's really important. We run our own tourship initiative for the youth in September. We're talking about that. The Steam Packet Company, they're actively looking for people to come and work with the company that live on the Isle of Man, and that's really good to have. I started the Steam Packet Company, but it's also the conversations where even if you wanted to be an accountant or in marketing or communications or in IT, you don't have to go down the traditional routes. There are maritime companies out there looking for passionate people. It really is exciting, and it's taken me around the world, and it can take you around the world.
Why hold this on the Isle of Man? And 20 organisations, you were saying, do they see the heritage and the value of coming over and speaking to the Manx people?
This is another thing that the message we're trying to get out is that within the maritime sector, we are world renowned. And that's because of the amazing work by the Isle of Man Ship Registry. I have travelled the world, and I've been in the far-flung places of the world, and on the back of a vessel I have seen Douglas with the Manx flag flying, the Manx ensign. And that is so crucial, and people don't understand that. On the Isle of Man, you're not within 200 metres of someone that deals with the maritime sector, whether it's the maritime itself, so crewing, ship management, technical management, through to CSPs, the corporate services side, through to the technical, like Ocean Web. We're everywhere on the Isle of Man, and we are known as a maritime centre of excellence. But outside of the world, people on the Isle of Man probably wouldn't know a lot about the maritime sector. But you've travelled. I've asked kids, what do you know about maritime? Absolutely nothing. How many of you have actually travelled by ferry? All of you. Well, you're in that sphere. You're in maritime, and that's what it's all about.
Manx Radio Sport.
Fast am I, Rob Pritchard.
Fast am I. Good evening. Ahead of Mark Cavendish's final Tour de France, Netflix has announced a new documentary of the Manx missile. The streaming giant says the film charts the rise, fall and resurrection of a genuine sporting great as he attempts to prove the doubters wrong and make history. The programme, called Never Enough, is due to be released on the 2nd of August. Cavendish begins his tour campaign tomorrow for Astana, Kazakhstan, currently tied on 34 stage wins at the prestigious race with cycling great Eddie Merckx. This year is expected to be the last chance 38-year-old Cavendish will have to reach an unprecedented tally of 35 stage wins after he announced last month he intends to retire from the sport at the end of the season. Stage 1 takes place tomorrow from 12:15pm local time, with a 182km route starting and finishing in Bilbao in Spain. In rugby, Vagabonds Ladies Rugby Club will celebrate an important milestone this weekend with a trio of international rugby stars visiting the island as part of the occasion. This year marks 25 years since the club was first formed, and a special event hosted by Wooden Spoon IOM in partnership with the club will be held tomorrow to recognise the milestone. 3 of England's Red Roses players, Poppy Cleal, Bryony Cleal and Connie Powell, will host free coaching sessions for girls and ladies aged 14 and over between 10am and 11:45am at Vagabonds Rugby Club. That'll be followed by an evening dinner event which will also be attended by sports broadcaster Laura Jane Jones. The event as a whole is aiming to generate funds for Wooden Spoon IOM, which supports vulnerable, disabled and disadvantaged children, as well as raise the profile of women's rugby on Manx shores. And finally, in football, Onken have announced who will take up the post as first-team manager at the club for the forthcoming new season. James O'Kelly takes up the post with Ozzy Moore alongside him, after both have stepped up from leading the Onken combination side previously. They guided the combi side to a 6th-place finish in Canada Life Combination 1 in the 2022-23 season, and will take over the new role from David Rees and Tony Jochen.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
The 10 to 5 Loganair from Edinburgh was cancelled. 5:30 EasyJet from Manchester came in some 10 minutes late. Next inbound, it's the 5 to 8 Loganair from Liverpool on time. 8:20 Loganair from London City on time. Fingers crossed the 8:30 Gatwick EasyJet is showing on time. Outbound, the 5:20 back to Edinburgh was cancelled. 6 o'clock EasyJet to Manchester is showing on time. Then it's the 6 o'clock Liverpool patient transfer Loganair on time. The 9 o'clock EasyJet back to London Gatwick on time. This weekend the Lighthouses Challenge is on. Tomorrow, Saturday, the pedal party is taking place in Castletown. The Parade, Castle Street, Bank Street and Maloo Street and Market Square affected on Sunday. Mull Hill is one way in the direction of the Sound to Port Erin from 8 till 11. The Slock's going to be closed to the Round Table from 8 till 11:15. Details at lighthouseschallenge.im. East Quays closed by the House of Manannan and Peel. to the road bridge for work on the road and pavements. Peel to Kirkmichael Coast Road's got phase closures. Temporary lights on the TT course at Glen Helen for tree felling, and lights too at Cumberland Road, Ramsey. Ballacollister Road's closed in Laxey between Crotty Quill Road and Rensall Hill. Ballymenic Road, Jerby's got phase closures. Temporary lights on the Howe Road in Port St Mary. Temporary lights on Ballacameen Road in Douglas for resurfacing. Groudle Road, Onken's closed between Harbour Road and Fairway Close. And in Baltrine, Packhorse Lane is closed for resurfacing.
H&HMotorcycles.im for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646.
The Isle of Man in 30 minutes. Update on Manx Radio with Andy Wint.
Fast am I. Last night a meeting was held in Douglas to discuss the lack of a night shelter for the Isle of Man's homeless. It was attended by several dozen people with an aim to get somewhere set up before we face another winter without a shelter for those in need. Taking the meeting, Kat Jenkins.
I'm really concerned because I know that some of the people who had cause to need that night shelter will still have that need. There is nothing at the moment. Gry closed in September last year. We heard words from government that something would be provided to replace it fairly soon. Then we heard that there was a strategy. We're now like 3/4 of a year later. We've been through a really cold winter. That need hasn't gone away. The busiest night that I had in Gry was 8 people there, and that's quite a lot of people to be needing a roof over their head for the night. You know, those people still have that need, and in a society as well resourced as ours is, times are tough, but we're still one of the better off countries in the world. We cannot just abandon people to the streets. So in the past we were really lucky. One of the Douglas churches gave us a downstairs room in one of their properties, and that was absolutely fantastic. It might be that we end up relying on a faith organisation again, because it does quite often end up being organisations like that help people out. But it might be that there's somewhere else, whether a local authority has a space available or something of that ilk. Ideally, something that can be divided so that men and women can feel safe and sleep separately, and that has facilities for making people a hot drink, or ideally some food, and needs toilet facilities and so forth. So there are some things that it needs to have, but it doesn't need to be huge. And while it would be great to have something really comfortable with beds and so on and so forth, something is far better than nothing.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Chanel Succe, producer Rhiann Evans. Rob Pritchard's here with Friday's Sport after 6. The Greatest Hits with Chris Kinley at 6:30. Howie Kane, Sweet and Swing at 9, and Rhiann with The Late Show.
W